You ever just stare at a modern mountain bike and feel kind of overwhelmed by all the bits and pieces? Well, today, we're going to decode this exact machine. We're going to look right past all the fancy tech specs and marketing jargon to really understand the story this bike is telling us through its design. So, let's dive right in. All right, so check this out. This is our subject for today, the Rockrider ST 120. Now, when you first look at it, you probably see the obvious stuff, right? The suspension fork, those disc brakes, that kind of interesting frame shape. But here's the thing. None of that is random. Not a single part. Every single piece is a clue, a deliberate choice that tells us exactly who this bike is for and what kind of adventure it's dying to go on. So yeah, let's start investigating.
And that's the big question, isn't it? Do you start with the gears, the tires, maybe the price tag? It can feel like you're just guessing. But what if I told you the single most important feature, the one that everything else is built on, isn't even a component you can point to on the bike?
It all, and I mean all, starts with sizing. Seriously. Before you even think about a single feature, before you look at gears or brakes, the absolute foundation, the non-negotiable first step, is making sure the bike actually fits you. Okay, so before you even glance at any other spec sheet, this chart right here is your starting line. It's not some crazy complex geometry lesson. It's super simple. Find your height, find your size. But don't let that simplicity fool you. Getting this wrong, oh man, you'll feel all cramped up or way too stretched out. You'll have way less control out on the trail, and honestly, you're just not gonna have a good time. Remember this, a perfect bike in the wrong size is simply the wrong bike, period.
All right, so you've nailed down the right size. Awesome. Now we can get to the heart of the matter, the bike's skeleton, which is its frame. The frame is everything. It truly defines the bike's personality and completely dictates how it's going to feel from the very first pedal stroke.
So this bike uses something called a CGF, which stands for Comfort Geometry Frame. Sounds a bit technical, but what does it actually mean for you, the rider? Well, think of it this way. The frame's angles and tubes are all designed to put you in a more upright, relaxed riding position. You're not going to be all hunched over like a pro racer. And the payoff? It's huge. We're talking way less strain on your back, less on your neck, which means those long exploratory rides are just way more fun.
Okay, so we've got the comfy shape of the frame down, but what's it actually made of? Well, in this case, it's 100% aluminum. And trust me, that choice of material is every bit as important to this bike's story as its shape is.
So why aluminum? Well, it's because it hits this perfect sweet spot. On one hand, it's way lighter than an old-school steel frame, and you will absolutely feel that difference on the climbs. But it's also much more affordable and durable than a super high-end carbon fiber frame. It's tough enough to take a beating on the trail, and it won't rust. Which is great, because let's be real, you're gonna get this thing covered in mud. For a bike like this, aluminum is it's the perfect choice.
Okay, so let's recap. We have a bike that fits you perfectly, it's got a comfortable and really durable frame, but trails aren't exactly smooth paved roads, are they? So how do you stay in control when the ground gets all rough and you need to manage your speed? Well, that's where suspension and brakes become absolutely critical.
Take a look right here at the front fork. This thing is your first line of defense against all that rough terrain. Its whole job is to compress and just soak up the impacts from rocks, roots, whatever the trail throws at you. And that does two really crucial things. First, it keeps the ride from feeling super harsh, which definitely saves your arms and hands. But even more importantly, it helps keep that front tire literally glued to the ground. And that is everything when it comes to steering and just staying in control when things get bumpy. So that suspension helps you handle the bumps, the go part of riding. But what about the whoa part? You know, controlling your speed. Well, that takes a totally different, but just as important, system.
The real secret to control on a modern mountain bike is a system just like this one, disc brakes. It's pretty straightforward. You pull this Tektro lever up here, and a caliper down on the wheel clamps down hard on that metal disc, which is called a rotor. Now, unlike older rim brakes that could get slippery and unreliable in the wet, disc brakes give you awesome, consistent stopping power, even if you're rolling right through mud and water. And that reliability, that's what gives you the confidence to really let it rip on the trail.
And here's a little detail that tells you even more about what this bike is for. 160 millimeters. That's the size of those brake discs. So why does that specific number matter? Well, it's pretty simple. Bigger disc, more stopping power. And 160 millimeters is a fantastic sweet spot for general trail riding. It gives you plenty of power, but also great control. It's not overkill. It's just one more clue that tells us this bike is built for real-world, everyday trails.
All right, so we've been playing detective here,
And we've gathered all our clues, right? We've got the rider-specific fit, the comfort-focused frame shape, the super practical aluminum material, that bump-smoothing suspension, and those all-weather disc brakes. So, let's step back for a second. What's the final story this bike is actually telling us?
The story here is one of really smart, purposeful design. See, this bike isn't trying to be the lightest thing on the planet or the flashiest bike on the trail. Its story's different. It's a bike built first and foremost on a foundation of proper fit. It uses a frame shaped for comfortable adventures, and it's got reliable parts, like the suspension and disc brakes, that are designed to give you the confidence to actually go off-road. Every single choice we've looked at points to one thing. This bike is designed to be the perfect partner for someone who's just discovering how awesome mountain biking can be.
So the next time you look at any bike, I want you to try this. Don't just see a collection of parts. Try to see the story it's telling. Look for the purpose behind its design. Because when you start to understand the why behind it all, it stops being just a machine. It becomes a trusted partner for your adventures. And that right there is the difference between just riding down a path and truly connecting with the trail.